Welcome to the Complete Story series. Right here at Comicstorian, we bring your favorite trade paperbacks and single issues and we break them down into digestible bites to help you understand what is going on in the comic books right now. The point of this is so that you can watch us dramatically read them back to you with weird voices and enjoy yourself with what we like to call a poor man's cartoon. And you can then go out and buy the next comic book because you know what's going on. Today we're going to be covering The Flash, Sage Force. So to catch you up real quick, recently we discovered that there are multiple other forces out in the Flash's universe. The Speed Force gives our speedsters their powers, but there's also a Strength Force, a Sage Force, and a Still Force. And today we're going to be exploring the Sage Force. Enjoy. There's a loud boom in Central City as a giant fist of Solomon Grundy punches into Barry Allen, knocking him to the ground. As the Flash sits there, he thinks how Halloween is one of Iris' favorite holidays, and instead of spending time with her, he's fighting a zombie with the Justice League Dark. He gets back up and he starts to lay into Solomon, with Solomon grabbing him, and the Flash thinking that he might have to come up with a different plan to bring him down. Grundy pulls back, and as he swings, the Flash begins to vibrate at a particular frequency that allows him to pass through Grundy's fist, and boom! Pieces of Grundy fly all around, and Wonder Woman says that she's surprised. She never took him for one to deal a lethal blow like that. Flash shrugs it off, telling her that Grundy will be fine. He'll be back to his old gray self before you know it. Right now, I gotta head out and meet up with Iris and the others. I'll catch you all later. Flash changes out of his costume as he runs to the bar to meet up with Iris, Burns, and Morrow. And as he walks in, Morrow laughs, stating, "Shoot! I thought you'd be at least an hour late. Since you're only 15 minutes late, I guess I'll be picking up the first round, huh?" Barry laughs as he heads to the bar, stating, Fine, another round for my friends. But a water for me, please." The bartender asks if he's sure that he doesn't want a cold one. "If anyone needs to loosen up, it's you, Barry Allen." Commander Cold smiles as he leans on the back of the bar. And Barry asks, what is he doing here? Cold tells him that since he's stuck in this primitive era, he's got to make money somehow, and he doesn't have very many options. Burns gets up to help Barry with the drinks and asks who's his friend behind the counter. Barry says that he's not a friend, just a suspect in an old case I had. Meanwhile, over at Iron Heights, Heatwave begins to head back to his cell when the doctor tells him that he may want to try meditation. It might help with his... Heatwave stops him, telling him, "None of that new age stuff works for me. Not really my style." Mirror Master laughs, asking Weather Wizard if he's seeing this. Heatwave is talking about his feelings. It's truly the end of the Rogues. Heatwave tells him, "Shut it, or it'll be the end for you." But as he passes Warden Wolf, Wolf asks how was his visit today. Heatwave scoffs, telling him, "Nothing for you to stress over, you glorified security guard." Wolf says that if he continues with that kind of a tone, he'll learn that there's no way out of Iron Heights. And Heatwave says, "Oh yeah? Tell that to James Jesse." And Wolf snaps, asking, "How do you know about?" Just then an explosion goes off in Heatwave's cell, and he screams as he's being burned alive. Back at the bar, Barry and the others sit and laugh, but as Barry looks towards the bathroom, he sees a red blur. He gets up and he says that he thinks he saw someone, and Iris asks if it's someone from his old Trek team. Superman once told Barry that he and Lois had a code word for when there was danger and one of them needed to go, and what Iris was asking was Barry's version of it. Barry heads to the bathroom, but he doesn't see anything, and just then a deformed Wally West beats on the mirror on the other side, asking, "Why did you let them take me?" Barry jumps back, yelling, "No, I'm not falling for Mirror Master's games. I'm not sure how you found me, but I'm coming." Wally breaks through the glass, shouting, "You left me, Barry!" And Barry shields himself as he looks up and sees nothing. He walks out and Kristen says there he is. Singh just called and said that something happened at Iron Heights, all hands on deck kind of a situation. So Barry hugs Iris and tells her goodbye. As everyone leaves, Iris goes to the bar and tells Cole that they need to talk about the new forces. Still, Sage, Strength. Back at Iron Heights, Heatwave lays in the ICU as Kristen looks over Heatwave's paperwork stating that Mick has always been a pyromaniac. This is hardly the first time that he's been burned, but this one might kill him. The scans show that his synapses are exploding. His body has been experimented on a few times over the years. We just need to figure out why he just spontaneously combusted this time. As Heatwave nods in and out of consciousness, he begins to see the world change, and he finds himself walking through a burnt-out city. He looks around asking, "What the hell is this?" And a large fire spirit appears before him, telling him, "No, there's nothing left to burn. Fire is about pain. It cleanses, it heals. The fire gives life." Over at the bar, Iris sits with Cole, telling him that these new forces seem familiar, but she's finding it rather odd that there's no mention of it in the future. Cole sits back, stating that time travel's funny like that. But instead of looking into the future, you might want to look into the past. What else do you remember before the flashpoint? Iris tells him bits and pieces, but just then her phone rings and she tells Cole to hang on. It's Barry. She answers and she asks what's up, and Barry says that he isn't finished yet, but he was wondering if she could ask that bartender. But before he could finish, there's a scream as 3 fire demons charge throughout the prison. Barry says that he's got to go, and Iris tells Cold that he's gonna need help. Cold says that he doesn't take orders from, but Iris shouts at him, "Just go!" Back at the prison, Barry changes into his costume to help pull people away from the demons, and as the Flash grabs Wolf, Wolf yells, "I don't need help from you." The Flash tells him, "Watch, they aren't going after you anyway." And Wolf then says, "Who then?" The Flash says, "Giant fire demons arrive at Iron Heights right after one of your resident fire starters is hurt. Take a wild guess." He races to where Heatwave is being kept, and he finds Burns there, and he tells her that she needs to get out of here. Just then, Heatwave's eyes begin to glow blue, and the Flash tackles Burns to the ground, shouting, "Get down!" And a second later, Heatwave explodes again. Both the Flash and Burns get up, and they see the fire this time took out everything. Burns asks, "Where is everyone?" And as the Flash kneels down at a pile of charred bones, he says that these bodies, there's something off about the way the fire spread. A fire that could do that, these flames are not normal. The voice then tells him, "That's because normal is boring, and I'll never be normal again. This is my world, Flash. Here, Heatwave is God." As Heatwave attacks, the Flash grabs Bird and runs her outside so that he can try and fight back against the giant Heatwave. The fire spirit from before tells Heatwave not to bother with the Flash. He knows what needs to be done. If he truly loves her, if he loves fire, he'll burn it all. Heatwave tells her, "Yes, my love." And a second later, Iron Heights explodes. The Flash runs outside asking Burns if she's okay, and she tells him that she's thankful for the save, but the next time he wants to pick her up, ask first. Heatwave starts to make his way to Central City, and as the Flash watches, Burns asks, "Aren't you gonna go after him?" And Flash tells her no, because this is all wrong. Heatwave's obsessed with fire, not killing. Those charred bones, they don't match up with what the evidence would look like. We're still in Iron Heights, but not the real Iron Heights. Burns asks, what is that supposed to mean? And the Flash says that he believes that they are lost in Heatwave's mind. Back in the real world, the Flash and Burns lay knocked out next to Heatwave's bed as the fire demons are getting closer. Wolf shouts to his men to keep firing, but as the demons reach out for Heatwave, they're suddenly encased in ice. Wolf looks back, stating, "You." And Commander Cole tells him, "My buddy Heatstroke is going to be so hellish that there are fire monsters here." Wolf asks, "What the hell are you doing here?" And Cole tells him, "You're welcome, by the way." Wolf looks back and says, "Welcome for what? This is the second time this month that my prison has been destroyed, and you and the Flash are somehow involved. Why is that, Commander Cold?" But when Wolf turns back, he finds Cold, the Flash, Burns, and Heatwave are gone. Back inside Heatwave's mind, the Flash goes through the remains of Iron Heights, and Burns says that Heatwave's never had an ability like telepathy before, right? The Flash tells her no, this is the Sage Force. Recently, Central City was the epicenter for a series of new forces that were unleashed into the world. The first one was the Strength Force, and that hit Trickster, turned him into a giant brute. This one clearly hit Heatwave. Burns says, okay, then why is she here? She has no connection to these forces. The Flash tells her that he may have an idea, but he's going to need to carry her, so she sighs. He begins to cross water, and he explains that back when he ran too fast, he got pulled into the Speed Force itself. To escape, he had to focus on his lightning rod, something from his life that keeps him grounded. He believes that for them to get out of there, they need to find Heatwave's lightning rod. When they stop, Burns says that she never told anyone this, but before she came to Central City, her family was from Gotham. Her parents are part of the Falcone family making drugs. That was until their lab blew up and they died in a massive fire. That was part of the reason she became a cop. Flash says that he's sorry he didn't know, and Burns asks, why would he? It's not like we're friends. The Flash goes on stating that Heatwave must have pulled them in for a reason. The Sage Force must have read her mind and saw that they had similar paths. But just as he finishes, there's a loud whoom as part of the building they're in breaks. The Flash starts clearing a path, stating that something doesn't want them connecting to Heatwave. That must be why you're here. Back at the Flash's apartment in the real world, Iris knocks on the door, telling Cole that she knows that he's in there. He cracks the door open, saying, "Hi, password?" Iris pushes away and stating that she doesn't have time for that. She needs to know what happened at Iron Heights. The things that her contacts have told her, they were insane. Iris looks down to see Flash, Burns, and Heatwave all hooked up to Cold's future tech. And Cold says, Barry did say to make myself at home. Back inside Heatwave's mind, the Flash leads Burns out of the smoke, and as Burns looks around, she asks, where are they? This looks like the suburbs outside of the city. The Flash looks back and says that he knows exactly where they are. This unscathed house is Heatwave's lightning rod, Heatwave's childhood home. Burns asks why would Heatwave have brought them there, and the Flash tells her that he didn't. As Heatwave appears above them, the Flash shouts to him, "You couldn't find your lightning rod because you're too afraid. Why? Heatwave begins to revert to his normal phone, stating that he knew Flash wouldn't let him down. When he was young, he hoped that when he grew up, he would be like his dad. But back when he saw his first flame, he knew he was born obsessed. The Flash tells him that that isn't true. He might not be able to go back to the way things were, but he can always move. And Heatwave says, forward. Heatwave begins to change back, stating, I could never change what I am. Not today, not tomorrow. All that's ahead of me is a nightmare. I couldn't face it before, so now I will burn it all. Heatwave's blast rips through the building, and Flash runs in, saving Heatwave's younger self, stating that if he can just get... But then there's another explosion. Back in the real world, Heatwave's body begins convulsing, and Iris asks what happens to the Flash and Burns if they're not disconnected from the Sage Force. Cold looks at the scanner, stating that it's way worse than just that. If Heatwave has another flare-up like he did at Iron Heights, he's gonna destroy all of Central City. Inside Heatwave's mind, the Flash continues to run, and he runs right into a wall of fire bouncing off of it. He looks around and sees dozens of paths with no clear way to go. The Flash tries to vibrate through the fire, but as he burns his hands, Burns tells him it's no use. Heatwave's maze is endless. The Flash starts running through the maze, stating that he will search every path until he can find an exit. And Burns says that it's only a waste of time. Heatwave then calls out, just like him, they're trapped in a life he didn't want. This maze makes them feel the way that he did the day his parents died. The Fire Spirit whispers to Heatwave, burn them, my love. They are all that stands between you and me finally being together as one. The Flash yells, don't listen to her! You've been infected by the Sage Force. It's given your sickness a voice, and all it wants to do is pull you deeper into your mind. Heatwave yells, no! You're lying! I'm the one in control here. This is my world. This is where I am God. Over in the real world, Cold begins hitting Heatwave with his cold gun, stating that he can't keep it up forever. If the Sage Force keeps accelerating thanks to Barry's Speed Force, then any minute, Heatwave's going to go nuclear. If we don't act fast, the city is doomed. Iris runs over to the computer, stating, okay, the Sage Force feeds on empathy, right? Wait, how did I know that? These new forces, ever since Hunter Zolomon tricked Barry and Wally into unleashing them, they felt so familiar. An image then flashes before Iris's eyes as she's working at a station, stating she remembers them in her past life. Before the Flashpoint, she studied the new forces. She knows what needs to be done. Hurry, put this on! Inside of Heatwave's mind, Burns calls out that they just want to help, and Heatwave tells her, no. The Sage Force has helped me in ways that no one else has. He begins throwing fireballs at the ground, and a voice tells him, that ain't you, buddy. Heatwave looks over asking, Captain Cold? Captain Cold hits him with a cold gun, stating, the one and only. Now why don't you chill out for a moment? Heatwave breaks free from the ice, shouting, you aren't the real Snort. He's locked up in Bell Reef. Cold asks, is that right? Then how would I know about the job we tried to pull in Metropolis a few years ago? Back before the Rogues, when it was just us, and Superman swooped in to put the fire out with his Fury's breath. Heatwave stops, asking, you left the whole time when we were being carried to Iron Heights. Cold tells him, yeah, you used to help me find an outlet for my passion, but really we helped each other. Helped me get over obsessing over my past and how my dad treated me. Heatwave starts to shrink, stating, the urge will never leave me. And Cold says, maybe, but the Mick I know would never let the fire control him. Heatwave blinks and sees himself in his old costume, and he asks, is this my gun? And Cold tells him, yeah, remember? You're the one in control of the fire. You don't need that overgrown matchstick dame to boss you around. It's time to go home, buddy. As everyone walks towards the light, the Fire Spirit screams, how dare you! If you won't love me, you will burn! But as the spirit attacks, the Flash runs in the way, deflecting the blast. The spirit asks why would he risk his life for a monster like Heatwave? And the Flash tells because he knows the pain that Heatwave feels. How hard it is to just let go of the past, and that moving forward sometimes hurts. The spirit gets ready for another attack, and the Flash runs circles around her, breaking her apart. She screams in pain, and everyone wakes up back in Barry's apartment. A short while later, the Flash brings Heatwave and Burns back to Iron Heights, and as Heatwave's bandages fall off, he looks at himself asking, where did my scars go? As Barry and Commander Cold leave the prison, Barry stops and tells him, you know, I may have been wrong about you. You did a good job back there. Cold steps off his hoverbike, telling him, call me Henry. And Barry says, wait, that's my father's name. And Cold tells him, yeah, I know. Later, outside the city, Barry looks on, taking it all in when there's a low rumbling sound making its way towards him. Iris gets off her motorbike asking what's going on, and Barry says that Cole told him that she knows how to deal with the Sage Force. Iris tells him that she didn't want to lie or hide things from him, but she's unsure of the things that she remembers and was afraid that they weren't real. That's why she's been so hard on him, hanging up on the past. The past is gone. It's unfair to try and live with it always on our minds. You need to talk to the Flashes of the 52 worlds again about what's going on with a Force Quest. Barry tells her that he already has. He should have listened to them from the start. Ever since Wally left, he's felt directionless. Iris then asks if he's going to finally accept that he can't go backwards. What's stopping him from going on this quest? Barry says it's because of her. She laughs, and Barry says, what? I'm serious. I can't live without you. She kisses him and tells him that he's a lovable, well-meaning dummy. Don't you get it? I'm coming with you. Meanwhile, over at Earth 18, home of Flash, Johnny Thunder. Johnny holds his ground as a tornado comes his way, stating that this might be his last stand. But they can bet their behinds that he's gonna go down shooting. The Winds start to dismantle his guns in a voice that asks, what did Barry want with the Flashes of the 52 worlds? Johnny says that he needed to go on his force quest, and Johnny starts to get pummeled, and the voice says, finally, the time has come. Barry Allen runs in the right direction, towards me, Hunter Zolomon, the true Flash. And there you have it. The Sage Force has been revealed to the world, giving Heatwave the ability to create his own world where he burns things. Overall, the Sage Force I found interesting, just like the Strength Force. But as a reader of this comic book, I'm kind of curious as to what is happening next in the Flash's universe. Is this going to be Strength Force, Speed Force, Sage Force, Still Force, and then kind of go away like the negative Speed Force did? Or is this going to become a new mainstay to the character of the Flash? Are we going to get more to these various forces? Only time will tell. But don't forget to subscribe to the Comicstorian channel so that as more stuff is introduced into the Flash's universe, we'll be telling you all about it. You can also find us over on Patreon, patreon.com/Comicstorian, where we're attempting to build our own podcast-style network of me and the rest of the team talking about things from all kinds of comic book goodness to what came out this week, to talking about comic book experiment kind of a things, to telling you about the various TV shows in our CTV podcast, and even venturing a little outside of the box, doing things like the Conspiracy Cast. With YouTube being all kind of weird the way it is, we're trying to use this whole Patreon thing as a secondary source of income that we can turn into our primary source. So if you enjoy what we do here, you want early access, you want extra content, please consider joining us at patreon.com/Comicstorian. It's basically where we're kind of making our new revenue from. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time right here.